Joining me now is Kevin Hassett, Director of the National Economic Council. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. Well, it's great to have you. I do want to start off with your reaction to the August jobs report. As you know, just 22,000 jobs were created last month, and revisions showed the U.S. actually lost jobs in June. That's the first month of job losses since the pandemic. Is this a warning sign about the state of the labor market?
Well, right now, when we're looking at all of the indicators, that it's looking like things are running very smoothly and that the economy is on the way up. We've got industrial production at an all-time high. We've got capital spending up 9% over the first half of the year. We've got the Atlanta Fed's GDP now saying 3%. And so when you see low jobs numbers like this, you kind of wonder what's going on. It's a little bit discordant with everything else that we see in the picture. Now, Goldman Sachs put out a report yesterday that I found kind of interesting. It showed that the BLS has seasonal problems in August, and that they tend to revise the number for this August up over the last 15 years by almost 70,000 jobs. And so if that were to happen again, then sort of all the indicators would make sense. But right now, it does look like a weak number.
Well, in 2024, BLS actually revised numbers lower to 78,000 from 142,000. Right. So it could go in the opposite direction as well. There's no guarantee, right?
Except that the average over 15 years is way north of 60,000. And so it's one of those things, right, when you're an economist and you watch people come and go, that because the school year starts and that when the school year starts could move from September to August and so on. It's a very, very difficult time for data people to adjust things for these seasonal factors.
Let me ask you about something that Mark Zandi of Moody's is saying. He is saying that the economy is on the brink of a recession by the end of the year. Do you think that's accurate when you look at these numbers?
No, I absolutely do not. I'm old friends with Mark Zandi. I have high regard for him, but I don't think that there's anything like a recession in the data. Again, the best measure of the overall economy is GDP, and the last number for GDP for the second quarter we got was revised up to 3.3%, and the Atlanta Fed saying it's 3% now. A 3% growth number is so strong that you might recall that when I was back here in 2017 as chairman of President Trump's Council of Economic Advisors, when we called for 3% growth, people called us charlatans and things like that, right? So a 3% number is a very strong number. Right now, the numbers that we can see are at 3%, and so I don't see any sign of recession. But I do have to concede that the jobs numbers are lower than makes sense given everything else that's going on, and the futures markets right now are expecting the Federal Reserve to cut rates. And I think that, if they had done that a little bit earlier, we'd probably be seeing stronger jobs numbers right now.
Well, let's talk about some of the other numbers that we're seeing. President Trump has argued his tariffs would create manufacturing jobs, but the data shows that the U.S. actually lost 12,000 manufacturing jobs last month, 33,000 manufacturing jobs since January. Why is the country shedding manufacturing jobs under President Trump on his watch?
Right. Well, what's happening, right, is that we're seeing a massive explosion in factory investment and in capital spending. And again, the jobs numbers right now are inconsistent with those. And we'll just have to see in the end. We're getting a really big benchmark revision of the jobs numbers next week. And we really need to start to see the jobs numbers make more sense. It's one reason why we're looking for a new set of eyes at the Bureau of Labor Statistics, because they keep revising things all over the place. As you might recall, last year, they revised the number down by 1 million jobs over a year. And that kind of error is really unacceptable for policymakers. If you're at the Fed, having 1 million fewer jobs would certainly have affected your policy. And if you're a fiscal policy person, if you're making errors that big, if you knew that you had 1 million fewer jobs, you might have taken a different path with fiscal policy as well.
It is important to point out, though, this is not one person at BLS making a decision.
Oh, no,
this is a team of people
staff
pouring through the data. They give the findings to the BLS commissioner. You take me to my next point, though. The president fired the BLS commissioner hours after the agency put out the July jobs report. He called those numbers, of course, rigged. So I have to ask you, does the president have faith in these numbers, in this latest report?
I think that the president has called on new management there to make sure the numbers do a better job. Let's think about it this way, Kristen. When's the last time you got a survey in the mail and then you took it out, you opened it up, and you filled it out, and then you brought it to the post office to return it. This is how these surveys, these old-fashioned surveys, are still being done. And there's a more modern online place called Homebase, which has the jobs number in August at 150,000. And so the point is that we've got to modernize the way we collect our data, because it's so important that it be transparent and accurate. And these really, really massive revisions to the data are harmful to the American economy, because people who steer the economy rely on those jobs to be true.
And
those
yet,
jobs numbers to be true.
Well, and yet, when President Trump has liked the jobs numbers, he's touted them. In March, he said the numbers were much better, as you know, than projected by the media. In April, he said, in 3 months, we've created 350,000 jobs. Think of that. In June, he said a lot of jobs are being created. That's what happened this morning. You saw the jobs. So does he only accept the numbers when it's numbers that he likes?
No, I think that everybody, increasingly even market participants, has become more aware of the design problems at the BLS right now. And that's why we brought new people in to make sure that we fix the problem and that the numbers are more trustworthy for everybody. People on the left and people on the right.
Let me ask you about something you said this morning. You said that President Trump's policies will actually make sure that Americans have more money in their pockets so that, quote, whatever happens with inflation, you have more money. Are you basically bracing people for the possibility that there could be an increase in inflation?
No. The issue is just that we have really hard numbers that the typical American family has seen their wage go up by about $500 already this year, and the real wage has gone up by a little bit less than 2 percentage points. The real wage, again, is the increase in wage divided by the increase in inflation. And so what I'm saying is that we're outperforming inflation by a lot, and that means that people have more money in their pockets and more stuff that they can put in the grocery bag when they get to the grocery store, because wages are going up faster than inflation.
Well, and yet companies like Walmart, John Deere, are saying that prices are going up, or that tariffs are costing them so much money they're laying off employees. Obviously, the president campaigned on a promise to lower prices. What is your response to Americans who hear that and say, hey, wait a minute, that's a campaign promise that's being broken?
Oh, but it's not being broken. The inflation rate was almost double what it is right now. It's averaging 1.9% for the year. It was way north, like 3.8% when President Trump took office. And inflation is coming down because of all of the efforts that we've taken to increase aggregate supply through the tax bill, to cut government spending, wasteful government spending, with the DOGE efforts and others, and to deregulate. And so that's where how inflation goes down. And the proof is really in the pudding in one way. If you look at what futures markets expect, I'm not saying what I expect, what futures markets expect now that the Federal Reserve is going to cut rates 2 or maybe even 3 times this year because inflation is so under control. All
right, let me ask you, I'm getting a wrap, but I got to ask you a couple more here. I want to ask you about tariffs.
Well, I can come back too.
All right, I want to ask you about tariffs. Of course, last week, an appeals court ruled that tariffs were illegal because only Congress has the ability to impose a tax, saying that they amount to taxes. You've appealed that ruling to the Supreme Court. What is the administration's plan if the Supreme Court does strike down President Trump's tariffs?
Well, I'm not going to go into like the counterfactual, because the Supreme Court is going to look at the IEPA powers that it very, very clearly spelled out in the IEPA law that the president has the authority to regulate trade. And that's what, how do you regulate trade is with the levers that move trade, including tariffs. And so the president and the team are highly confident that this is going to work out.
And of course, there's a big question about who will replace Fed Chairman Powell when he does step down in several months. You're one of the names who has been floated. I've spoken to you about this before. Have you been in touch with the committee that's making this final decision? Have you had an interview?
I'm not going to talk about my discussions with Secretary Hassett and President Trump right now, but there's a thorough process. Secretary Hassett has put together a list of really, really talented people, many of them my friends, and we look forward to the president making a decision that's going to make America great again by getting the Fed to be independent and great again.
When do you think we might get that decision?
I don't have an idea right now. I'm not sure. But it would have to come before the term is up, which is early next year.
All right. Kevin Hassett, thank you so much for stopping by today.
Thank you.
We really
Good to be
appreciate
here.
it. Great to have you.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.